Let's talk about fish, baby. Let's talk about you and me. Let's talk about all the good things and the bad things that may be. Let's talk about fish. Let's talk about fish. Fish. Let's talk about fish, baby. Let's talk about you and me. Let's talk about all the good things and the bad things that may be. Let's talk about fish. Let's talk about fish. Fish.
Well, hello. How are we this morning? What am I doing? I got the stash in my mouth. Nice to see you all. And here's Joey.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. I think that
Lori.
Whew.
A bunch of friends here.
Yeah. We should maybe start from the top and say hello to a few people, huh?
Work your way down the list. Good, sure enough.
Yeah. You want to do it? You want me to do it?
Go ahead, you do it.
Well, Fish and Tactics looks like first.
Lee Wilcox. Always first.
I know. Lee Wilcox, world's smallest fish room. Broadcast Illusions. Karana Karen. I would always get it. Stephen, Emily, James Handy. Oh, I'm scrolling. There's a lot of talking here with those same people early in the morning.
There's been huge chat between here and Discord. It's been
been busy. Yeah.
It's so back and forth.
TJ's New Life, Xanadu, Joshua, Michelle, Jeannie, Mike D, Willie Beck, Glassbox Fox, Daniel, Mr. DCBDs. Oh, Stephanie is here. Sue Ann, Stephen Cooper, Tree 77, Greg the Guppy Gag. I think they're all here and they're all in attendance. And if I missed anyone, I really apologize.
Did you get Lee and Stephen?
I did, I believe, in the beginning. Lee and Stephen. Yes, I think so. But
here
not
hello. Since 30 seconds.
Yeah. Well, Stephen and Lee and Fish and Tactics are, right in there in the beginning. So
yeah, they are. Yeah, and they've been real busy on Discord as well. So there's been a lot of back and forth between here and Discord. I'm going to try to figure out how to get this link to Discord so that you can pick up the stream on Discord as well. I know it's possible to do it. I haven't figured out how yet, but we're going to do it. We're going to get there.
I missed Iad. Hello, I see that. I'm scrolling back through.
Oscar.
And I missed Roman.
Henpan. Hello, Henpan. You said Xanadu.
I did. So anyway, we're going to admit, we were talking about a couple of things right before, and I didn't come on until a couple minutes before the show. So I haven't looked for questions. But you were talking about, Xanadu says, this whole group just makes me smile every morning. Love starting my day with y'all. That's nice.
Me too.
That's nice.
Absolutely.
And David Fellows just came in. So I'm just looking back, Father Fish, to see if I see anything. And I interrupted you to say hellos, but you were talking about the conversation back and forth, which is great. And I'm just looking.
I have the kill switch.
Okay. Go ahead.
Oh, dear.
Oh.
Oh.
If we didn't miss anything, then we're just going to move forward.
Well, a little housekeeping here.
Mm-hmm.
I am struggling right now with decisions. The plan that I had to go back to Maryland has been put on hold. My friend is seriously ill, and it's not available to the kind of incursion that we were planning. So that's, as I said, that's on hold, which leaves me in the middle of liquidating the shop and trying to decide where to go from here. Whether I should rent a house. I'm renting a room from a friend because I spent all of my time here. I had actually sold my house and was living here at the shop for a couple of years until the city decided that was a code violation. So then I had to move out, and I rented a room, which I've been living with a very sweet gentleman, 10 years, 13 years older than me. He's 93, just turned 93. And I can stay there with him. But if I do that, I'm just in a room. And I own a lot more than a room's worth of stuff, including fish tanks. So it puts me in a position where I have to make a decision, and I don't know what to do. I'm up and down and back and forth. I'm thinking I probably need to rent a house.
Yeah. Hey, J-Dog says, Father Fish, call me when the stream ends. I have my wife helping with your situation, so they may have some ideas for you.
Oh, well, that would be nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I really do need some help here. I've had offers from some dear friends to move in with them, but it really would be exactly what I've got now. It would be trying to live in a room. And I guess I could do, I mean, that's the other part of it. You know, I'm not well physically. I've got a world full of physical issues, a body full, I should say, of physical issues. So I ought to be cutting back and kind of reducing my activity and hunkering down. I don't want to. That's the problem. I really don't want to. I want to get out there and do collecting and do more stuff on my YouTube channel, and you know.
You could still do that. You can still do all that, but just not have the pressure of the store 7 days a week. You can still go out and collect and set up a fish room and do your YouTube.
Right. Yeah, that's true, and I am committed to liquidating the store. That is in process. Where I go from here.
I'm laughing. J-Dog says, Father Fish, soak yourself in Epsom salts and raise the heater to 86. I love that, J-Dog.
And that makes great.
Yeah, it had an inch of sense. You'll be great.
Thomas put some story times up last night on the channel.
I saw that. Yeah.
He put 4 of them up, and they're one or two of them are kind of goofy, one or two are kind of serious. One of the goofier ones has 600 hits as of this morning, and it's called "Don't Bury Your Shrimp." Remember, we had somebody calling the other day worried about they were going to pour sand in their tank and bury their shrimp.
Right.
He clipped that and posted it as a video.
Mm-hmm.
So I called it "Don't Bury Your Shrimp," and it's for whatever reason it's gangbusters. I've used a few little icons that I kind of like, pictures of fish that I went through some time ago and pulled out. Yeah, cute little cartoon, kind of cartoon characters, cartoon fish.
Well, that's
and I used one with a big smile to front the question: do your fish have personalities? And I thought that was kind of a neat conversation. I was glad to see that one pulled up. That was fun.
They absolutely do, but
they absolutely do.
Some more than others, but they do have personality.
And it's not like they're like all of the fish of a given species are the same. If you are discerning and you really are paying attention, you can see personality differences between fish in the same species, between one neon and another neon. Now that's pushing it a little, because that takes a lot of observational skill. But
but I mean, that's why you have your fish, to enjoy them, and that's the way that you want to enjoy them, by studying them. I'm all for that.
Yeah,
to enjoy your fish. So you have
just a nice Jay Dog talking about the caviar joke. Oh yeah, that was fun. I got him. Yeah, I got him on that one. Right.
Yeah. I was going to read you a nice little quick statement that's just a little testimonial, and then there was a question I was going to read you, if you're ready, unless you want to just keep.
Yeah, go for it. Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. So Oscar C says, 2 tanks I set up following the Father Fish Way a month ago are doing great, getting pearling just about every day. So that's awesome. Beautiful.
Nice.
And then TJ's New Life. Father, can you tell us how to clean fish nets? How hot to kill parasites, etc.? Does sun drying the nets help to cleanse them? Thanks.
How do you clean fish nets?
And we're putting the net in the
parasites.
How? Yeah.
This is interesting. It takes me back to a certain fish keeper friend I had, David Fellows, $4.99 super chat.
Say we've got a super chat. Thank you.
Thank you, David, very, very much. Deeply appreciate your contribution, your support, your gift, and your kindness.
And before you say, I'm just gonna apologize. I'm not able to help Father Fish and say hi as much lately, so I'm just trying to say general hellos. So just letting everybody know as they come in. But thank you for being here. All right, go on your fish nets.
Fish nets. Takes me back to an old fish keeper friend who kept a separate net for every tank. And he would become utterly distraught if a net was used in the wrong tank. I have 2 main nets. They're big 12-inch black nets that I use because I can't find one of them usually. So I'm always using the other one in every single tank. Saltwater, freshwater, 10-gallon tank, 500-gallon tank, same net. The net mesh, here we go. Oh, God. This one will get me. If you're thinking about a net, as something that is sufficiently fine, in which the mesh is sufficiently fine to trap parasite or other nefarious particles. I would remind you that a virus is 1/1000th the size of a hole in the mesh of the mask you're putting over your face. A net does not protect from parasites. It doesn't capture them. If you have bacteria in the water and you run your net through it, the chances of that bacteria being caught on the net number one and surviving out of the water number two long enough to get into another net, another tank number three, are way down close to nil. About the only thing I clean out of my nets is duckweed. And that's a hopeless task because duckweed goes wherever it wants to go. Mm-hmm. And there doesn't seem to be. The only way I've found to really effectively control duckweed is to put a goldfish in the tank. And occasionally snails, mystery snails, do a pretty good job of cleaning it up too. But yeah, I don't really adhere to the notion that a net is capable of transferring diseases from one tank to another. Now, having said that, I don't have tanks that have disease in them. And if I do,
right.
If I've got a sick fish and I use a net to take that sick fish out, I'm usually going to do something to sterilize that net because I'm really not a mad scientist. I'm really not completely ridiculous, absurd, and outrageous about nature and natural stuff. You know, a piece of fungus containing bacteria can certainly get caught in the mesh of a net and can certainly get transferred. Whether it can do any harm or not is a whole other issue. And the likelihood goes way down to zero pretty quickly. But nevertheless, there are some places where I do err on the side of caution. And using a net when I'm working in a tank that has sick fish, I will do something with that net to sterilize it. Usually I simply run it in hot water, run hot water through it, rinse it out. That's the easiest way. The water coming out of my faucet is scalding hot. And that's typically about 130 degrees or so. So that's typically what I do. What else?
And then I let it air dry, and I figure I'm good. Usher had a question. He said, Father Fish, I put a spare piece of wood in my tank and a nearite snail. Nearite snail laid eggs on it. Can I remove the wood and put in a small bowl of salt water? Will that be enough to hatch the eggs? What temperature?
It might very well. Temperature doesn't matter. It might very well. If you can get excuse me, I have had nearite snail eggs hatch in very hard water with a ppm up around 400. So yeah, if you create a brackish environment, they're a brackish snail. Right. So you don't need super hard. You don't need salt water. Brackish water will do. Very hard water with a little salt added to get the ppm up around 400, and yeah, they ought to hatch. I've had them hatch in my regular tanks, not often, but I have found little tiny babies where none existed before, and that was the only way they could have gotten in there. So, yeah, you can do it. You just have to have a really hard water.
Okay. You got a question from Michael M. He says, "Hello, Father Fish. I have a little ram cichlid, and he seems to have possibly tried to eat a small pebble thing. I think it's stuck now. Will he be able to get it back out?"
Wow. He's got a pebble stuck in his mouth?
Yeah, or something pebble-like stuck in his mouth.
Yeah, like a piece of gravel. Yeah. I don't know. I would keep an eye on him. Yeah. It is conceivable that that something like that could get stuck. They usually can stretch their mouth pretty good and expel pretty good. Right. So it's not likely. I don't know that I've ever really seen that happen. I'll tell you what I have seen happen. I had a pacu. I've mentioned this before. A big one, about a 10-pound pacu. It was about 20 inches, 16 inches. I had them had a couple of them, in a big 200-gallon with large umbunas, large African cichlids. And I came down one morning, and one of the pacus was dead, floating dead, with an umbuna stuck in its mouth. And it was big enough that it had gotten in there, and it couldn't get it out. And then because it was round and completely filled the mouth, or they completely closed off the lips, I couldn't breathe. So it suffocated. Yeah. So that kind of thing can happen. It's pretty oddball, pretty unusual. If it's been going on for a while, you might try just taking them out. Just the act of taking it out should taking the fish out should cause them to expel the stone. Getting it out could be another matter. I mean, you really could very easily injure the fish. I don't know any good way you could do that. Even a pair of tweezers are not going to be able to grab that piece of gravel without injuring the mouth in some way. Right. So good luck with that.
All I can think of is maybe squeezing behind the pebble.
Go through the gills and push it out. It's real risky. It's a tiny fish.
Right.
I don't have any good advice on how to do that. Take it out and shake it a little. See if shaking it'll get him to drop it. That usually works pretty well. I've had a lot of fish drop things out of their mouth by taking them out of the tank with a net. It frightens them and it gets them to expel.
Right. I was like, you scared them. Yeah. You just scared them.
Right. And it may be nothing more than that. I mean, he may simply, who knows? Watch him for a while. If he's swimming around with it, that means he's breathing.
Right.
So at least he's not suffocating.
Yeah. So
try that. Let us know about that, though. That's a really interesting situation.
Yeah. All right. Here's a question. Joe Merchant says, since you're talking about closing your shop, I'd love to hear you discuss the trends you've seen come and go throughout the years, types of fish tank setups, etc.
Huh. Well, it's kind of a trick question for me anyway.
Yeah.
Because for the last 10 years, I've been vigorously promoting a deep substrate, and really not letting people get away with not doing it unless they had a really good reason, like a big tank with very big fish. But I've been very serious about that because I've been trying, based on my belief in the system, as an effective way to keep fish, even for newcomers. I've been trying to impact the hobby with that approach, and so I'm not a good one to talk about other approaches. I think on balance, it's if you look at what's happened in the hobby, it's gone downhill in terms of being able to maintain a natural system. You look at all of the people who are online, all of the fish keepers who are online, and with rare exception, and the exceptions are clear and obvious. Alex and Lucas are two exceptions. There are a few others, but frankly, not many. Most people who are keeping fish pay no attention whatever to their substrate. And they pay no real attention to trying to create a balanced environment. They're simply pushing water through the tank continuously, doing water changes typically every week, and not minor, but major, 50% water changes a week. Anybody who's doing that is not doing anything even close to maintaining a balanced tank. Yet that's what's become the mentality. CO2 injection. CO2 injection is merely an excuse for not having a balanced tank. It doesn't make anything better. It'll promote plant growth for a short period of time until you turn off the CO2 and stop running it. But it's not going to really benefit the life force or the balance, the integrity of the tank. Reality is a deep substrate creates far more CO2, carbon dioxide, than the CO2 injection does. You can have a higher level of CO2 in the substrate than you can have in the water column. So CO2 injection on that level doesn't make any sense at all. It's simply a way to avoid doing a balanced natural environment. And I could go on. It goes on and on and on. The whole direction, I've been complaining about this for a while, the whole direction in the hobby among the people who are most actively promoting the hobby, as I've been referring to them as mercantilists, as shopkeepers, businessmen, industrialists, manufacturers, all of that. All they're doing is promoting product. They're not promoting safe, healthy fish keeping. They're not. They're trying to figure out every day they wake up and try to figure out some way to get another buck out of the fish keeper. Something they can invent, something they can convince people they need in order to be able to make another dollar. And that's been the direction for 20 years. And it's gotten totally out of hand, to the point where I get coming in here on a regular, almost daily basis, people bringing in aquariums loaded with hundreds of dollars worth of supplies and equipment, every single item of which is completely irrelevant to keeping fish. Yet they've been convinced they ought to spend all that stuff, spend money on all that stuff. And what's the result? Dead fish, over and over and over to the point where they get fed up with it and they quit, and they dump it on the sidewalk, or they bring it into whoever will take it. And what do you know what I do with all that stuff? I throw it in the trash can. I sell the tank, a net, heater, light, filter, maybe everything else, all the bottles of this, that, and the other stuff, they all go in the trash. Every bit of it. And I don't sell it. You can't find it on my shelf. I sell virtually no dry goods. It's part of the reason I'm going out of business, because you can't maintain a business with a substantial overhead like a brick and mortar building, and this is a big one, selling just fish to people who have got it in their head that they've got to buy products to keep their fish alive. So there's a rant for you.
Well, I think we knew we were going to get one. That was the whole point.
Cheers.
So Jeannie has a question. Jeannie Campbell has a question.
Yeah.
She says, "Oh, wait a minute. I had it. Okay, it's like my thing moved. Okay, No, that's not it. Sorry. Where's the question I had from her? Okay. My 3-week-old fatherfish method planted 40-gallon is holding 2 6-inch axolotls. Seems to have an issue. The dirt is coming to the surface in one corner. I added about 1 inch of sand and some additional plants. And then she has continued. So I think the problem maybe continues to happen, that the dirt keeps coming up in that corner.
I don't know why it would.
I know. All I'm thinking is there a weird flow of the water that's maybe from a filter that's flowing and creating something that's moving the sand?
Yeah, I don't think axolotls dig particularly either.
I've never kept them, but yeah, I don't.
I have. I don't recall them digging. I mean, they'll go for worms and stuff. But
Right.
They're not going to burrow, which is what would be required.
Right.
If you have an adequate cap on that dirt, it can't come up. I don't understand how it could. There's no way it could. It could not, unless you got water flow going through the bottom.
Yeah.
There's no way it can.
Something moving it. Yeah.
Add some more sand. I mean, that's the advice. Add some more sand. Yeah, I had somebody on another stream. I got hornswoggled into getting into a tussle with Novak, and somebody was complaining to me about the fact that they did everything I said and still had a problem. And why couldn't I get over the notion that adding sand solved all problems? Oh, and not feeding the fish. And I said, well, because the problems are caused by inadequate sand and overfeeding the fish. I mean, that's the problem. There are no other problems. There's nothing else that can go wrong. If you got slimy, rotten water, it's because you're putting too much food in the tank. There is no other cause for it.
Yeah.
Other than a tank full of dead fish. And why would you not be able to figure that out? If you've got dirt coming up from the bottom, it's because there's not enough sand capping it. You tried some, try more. Keep doing it until it stops. Then you'll have it fixed. Just keep. If you have to put 3 feet of sand in to stop it, then put 3 feet of sand in. I mean, it's not going to take 3 feet. It's going to take 2 inches, maybe 3 on the outside. Unless, of course, your dirt layer's a foot thick. and that creates a whole other can of worms.
Right.
So if your dirt's too deep, and you try to cap that, then you got a real issue, because you can't do that. You can't have that dirt 6 inches deep and put 2 inches of sand on it. That ain't gonna work. An inch of dirt, 1 inch of dirt, 2 inches of sand. That's the formula. Don't go crazy beyond that. I mean, don't get into like, oh wow, more is better. 6 inches of dirt and 3 inches of sand. It ain't gonna work. It ain't gonna work, because when you set that thing up in the initial phase of it, there is so much chemical activity and biological activity going on in that deep substrate that if it's not well capped, it'll bubble out and it will foul the water. You have to err on the side of caution on this one. 1 inch of dirt, 2 inches of sand. That works perfectly well. What else you got?
Typically. T Montano is asking how to raise the pH in the tank.
Well, if your pH, it's not there are easy ways to do it. You can put baking soda in the tank that raises the pH. You can put some kind of limestone or Florida fossil, which is a calcium-based product. You can put that in the tank, and it will release carbonates that will raise, that'll slowly raise and maintain the pH. But the critical thing is to determine what the pH of the water is coming out of your tap. And if it's 7 or above, then whatever that is, live with that. And your fish and help your fish adapt to that. It's not hard to do. I mean, they'll get used to it very quickly. Don't try to chase pH, because you will, in the long run, you will fail unless you're just checking it and looking at it every single day, and very often 2 or 3 times a day to be able to track it. Try to depend on the water that you have available to you. If it's 6-0 coming out of the tap, then you're going to have to do something about that.
Right.
And the best way to do that is to add carbonates. You can add carbonates by buying crushed coral or calcium powder, and use that. But it's rare to run into that problem. I don't think Stephen is here. If he is, he has 6-0 water coming out of his tap, so he's got to do it routinely. He would be a good one to talk about this.
I mean, he was here. I don't know. Yeah, he's still here. He's still here.
Is he? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so are you good on that question? You ready for another?
For now, yeah. We'll let Stephen talk about it a bit, because he'll have some helpful.
So, Puskar says, can I keep a single Venustus giraffe hat in a 55-gallon? My LFS has a 3 to 4 inch who is crazy aggressive with other cichlids, but skittish when alone. Should I do some dithers?
Oh, I would. If you really want the fish and really like the fish, don't put it in with one other fish. Put it in with 2 or 3 other fish. Yeah. Generally, that dominance becomes a problem when it's one-on-one. So, it's a big enough tank. You can put a half a dozen fish in there, and I would simply do that. There are, keep in mind though, with these big Malawi cichlids, they reach a terminal stage. If you have a tank, a 55-gallon tank, and you buy 20 small Mbuna cichlids and put them all in the tank and grow them up, in a year to a year and a half, you will have one left because they are that aggressive and they will just beat each other to death. Um, they take a lot of space and a lot of fish to keep the aggression down. I've got a 200-gallon tank with about, I don't know how many right now, 50 to 60 very aggressive fish in the tank. They're all 3 to 5 inches. I do get aggression and I do get fish killed. Typically, it's new fish that I put in the tank that everybody gangs up on. Not always, but sometimes. But generally, those fish really are not after each other at all. There's so much in there, the aggression gets diffused to the point where the one guy they're chasing they can't find because 5 others get in the way. So it does, the aggression is almost non-existent.
Mm-hmm. So you got a couple of quick little
Stephen. Yeah, Stephen's commenting on this pH thing.
Okay.
Yeah, so he's saying never chase pH. I've got over 200 species in my fish room, not including the clinic of sick fish. I have 6.0 city water. I use 2 methods to acclimate. To my water, I don't change it. So there you go. You know, he's not chasing pH. He's acclimating fish to his water so that he doesn't have to worry about the pH of the water in the tank. They simply adapt to what he's got.
And that's what I've said to you. I learned that a long time ago. Don't fight my water. Just figure out the fish that live in my water, you know? Yeah. So you got a couple little nice statements. Petroman Joe wanted you to know that he sold 22 of his discus babies and kept 10 for himself. So that's awesome.
Wow.
Yeah.
How nice. That's great.
And Nicholas Grohl says, Father Fish said, I could have 100 small fish in my 60-gallon deep dirted sand substrate. I'm up to 39 fish. So he's 39 and counting. So, and then George Bachelon would like to know, what kind of filter would you recommend for a natural ecosystem aquarium? Or would you just aerate and rely on the substrate?
I like to use sponge filters. I use them pretty consistently and pretty much everywhere. It's just a good kind of a safety valve, I guess. It provides some additional biological filtration. It does help clarify the water. It provides a home for microscopic life in addition to the substrate. And it helps to move the water, to aerate and circulate the water. So really, that's my solution is sponge filters.
Yeah. Falcon Refund just had a quick question. They're wanting to know if they can use organic potting soil. Yeah.
Just one. Yeah. How are you feeling? You look rocky. Thomas just walked in. Death warmed over.
I had to sacrifice a pair of underwear.
Well, Thomas, you didn't put your makeup on?
We don't want to know.
We don't want to know. Okay.
Oh, dear.
Oh, boy.
What's Petroman? Here we go. Petroman. I don't use heavy buffers, just calcium, magnesium, potassium, and a 55-gallon. Rubbermaid food-grade garbage. Can add the minerals and a heater, let it sit for a day, then do my water change. And Petroman is a person who is absolutely meticulous about water, his water condition and water quality. He measures everything. He's incredibly careful, precise, and particular about about what he's doing. So here we have basically the two extremes, Petraman and Stephen and myself, and I'm just so far out on the other end that you can't even see me. But it's you can do what you want to do, but recognize if you're going to be trying to control things like your pH and water condition, that you're going to have to accept the responsibility for monitoring it as precisely as you are able and maintaining it as stably as you possibly can. Or you can simply accept what you've got and get on with it.
Yep.
There are reasons for doing both, and good, solid reasons. I'm not in any way, and please don't misunderstand me, I'm not in any way denigrating Petraman or what he's doing, or the people who are meticulous about maintaining water quality and water conditions. Not at all. I'm just lazier than that.
Well,
and so I need to find a way to keep fish based on my skill level. I mean,
and
it's
as
really
you said, what you're willing to do, how much work you're willing to put into
Yeah,
it. And
so,
everybody
you know,
has
I-
a lot of it.
right. I build a community of people based on a similar level of indolence. And if you don't know what that means, it means laziness.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but the reality is there are times when you got to step up to the plate and do things you might not otherwise really want to do.
Right.
So you got to pay attention to.
Right. And falconry fund, I use black diamond all the time. I just went yesterday and bought 4 40-pound bags of the black diamond sand for my tanks. So I use it all the time.
Good stuff.
Yeah. And Jeffrey Thomas, who looks like they're new, welcome Jeffrey. It says, do I medicate snails I plan to feed to fish to get rid of any pests?
Do I medicate snails?
Sorry, pesties. I was looking at the word like, okay, so just wanting to know, should they medicate the snails before they feed them? He says they're trying to raise the snails themselves. So to feed out.
No need to medicate.
Yeah.
Don't worry about medicating. Unless there's good reason to do it.
Right. And if you're raising them yourself, you should be fine.
Yeah, exactly.
You're not buying them and bringing them in from somebody else. So you should be good. Daniel said, Father Fish, I have a 29-gallon. It has some sand in it, but I want to do what you're saying. Okay, what kind of dirt can I buy and put in my tank? So you get that question every day. What dirt? People are always wanting to know, what dirt can they buy? Or maybe more, what dirt shouldn't they buy? Because they can buy a lot of different kinds of dirt, right?
Well, I think the reality is it doesn't matter. It's like, what kind of sand should I use?
Right.
It really doesn't make a bit of difference. I do a certain thing, and I recommend a certain thing. Give me one of those sheets. Have you got another one? Here it is, folks. Right there. Anybody who buys the supplement from me gets this. Let me go down this list very quickly. My package of supplement contains enough additive for 100 gallons. For a 55-gallon tank, combine 1 cup of supplement. Now, the supplement contains about 10 different elements, about 10 different things. I won't go into all of them right now, but add that supplement to, for a 55-gallon tank, 4 cups of organic manure, 4 cups of potting soil, 8 cups of peat moss. Mix thoroughly. Add water until you have the consistency of slurry, a mud pie, kind of a thick a stew, sort of like concrete slurry. Mix it all again. Allow it to sit for a few hours. Do not use if water is pooling. If there's water sitting up on it, drain it with a net. Pour the mud, into the tank and level it. It should be 1 inch of mud. Wipe the sides of the tank where the dirt has splashed. You can do that with a spray bottle or sprinkling water or wiping. Pour dry sand on top of the soil to a 2 inch minimum of sand. So pour dry sand in until it rises above the mud 2 inches. It'll go down into it a little bit at first. You want it dry above the mud, dry above the mud 2 inches. That's important. You're going to put more than what would otherwise be 2 inches of sand. You're going to put sand in until you have 2 inches of dry sand above the mud. Some of that sand will be down in the mud. That won't be dry. Don't count that. Count the 2 inches only that is above the level of the mud. Pour water into the tank very carefully. Do not disturb the sand. Use a bowl or a dish to receive the flow of the water. So you don't want to create a tunnel down in the sand by pouring the water in. Fill it 2 inches from the top. Start your pump, sponge filter, or hang on the back and run for a day. Rocks and driftwood can be added after the sand is in place. So that's how I do it.
Very good.
It doesn't matter what the dirt is. It can be anything you want it to be. I have a formula based on my experience and what I'm trying to achieve. But frankly, you can go out in your garden and dig up soil from your garden. You can go out in the pond, ditch, or creek and dig up some mud from there and put it in. Doesn't really make any difference.
Okay. So
it fell down, I think. I had it here, and I think it fell on the floor. All right.
Okay, so Sue Ann Campbell has a question. When you're ready.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. She says she has a 265-gallon tank with 3 Oscars, ranging from 15 inches to 6.5 inches. Recently, the 6-inch has started chasing the smaller one relentlessly. Question is, can I put the small one in the 75-gallon with 8 African cichlids? Oh, 6 and 5. So she's got 3, a 15-inch, a 6-inch, and the 5-inch. The 6-inch is chasing the 5-inch. So can she put a 5-inch Oscar in with 8 African cichlids in a 75-gallon tank?
Yeah, probably. You want to keep an eye on it because they might just gang up on it. But that's unlikely. What I found typically is that if you put a fish in a tank that is foreign to the native species, that they will tend to ignore it. So putting a South American Central American cichlid in with Africans, the Africans tend to ignore the Central American, and vice versa. It's like they don't know how to deal with each other. Now that'll change over time, probably, just from a behavioral standpoint. But initially, there won't be typically any initial conflict. Then again, fish is fish, and they can always surprise you. But that's a fairly common experience.
Sorry, I was reading one, but I thought it was a question, but I think it's more of a statement. And I'm looking. Oh,
Bottom
yeah.
dwellers.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was same thing. I was reading bottom dwellers. I'm like, okay. I was gonna say talking about being offered a rubber-nosed Pleco, but needs a ride to go pick it up. That's cool. All right, Stephen Rain. Sorry, we're having a little lag here.
Stephen is talking to TJ.
Yeah.
Using rainwater.
Of course, there's a lot of talk. Thank you, David Fellows, for your super chat. You see that, Fatherfish, at 9:53?
No.
It's just
David Fellows.
TJ.
Yes, I do. Thank you, David, very much.
Yeah.
Yep. Love you too. Appreciate you, David, very much.
Yeah, there's a lot of talk back and forth here. That's why I'm trying to figure out, looking. Yeah, Stephen and TJ definitely talking, which is great. I mean, that's what it's all about.
A lot of chat.
Yeah, a lot of chat. That's why I'm like, I think I've kind of run out of questions scrolling down. I can scroll back if you want me to.
Yeah, let me just mention to everybody who's here, the Discord channel, the link for which is available on my channel homepage under community. If you'll click on that and go to Discord, it's a 24/7 chat format. Currently, we've got about 133 people who are signed on. You can post pictures on it. We will get to the point where we'll be able to do streaming on it. So you'll be able to do short videos as well. I think you can do that now, actually. But it's a great channel. There are some real qualified people on it. Stephen, Chevy Fish are on it routinely. I try to get in as much as possible. Lee's hanging out there a lot. He seems to like it. And that's always fun. Just wonderful conversations, not constrained by the kinds of issues we're dealing with here. So it's really an open chat format, and what I know everyone will enjoy. So feel free to go over there, plug in. Do try to make a donation. These are not, they may be free to use, but they're not free for us. We have to pay all kinds of services to be able to do this stuff. So do try to make a contribution monthly if you can through PayPal or Patreon or YouTube to help us carry the load with this stuff. But it's a lot of fun. And we will eventually be getting this stream up on Discord. So you'll be able to stay on there and catch it straight out. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, I was just going to add to, I scrolled back a little bit, and when Jeffrey had asked you about the snail thing and about being worried about if you needed to do anything, he just says, they look fine, but I see small wigglers and other things in my snail tank that I didn't put there, LOL. So that's what's making him nervous, the little things he's seeing in his tank along with his snails.
Don't be nervous. Don't be worried. Don't be upset. Your tank is balancing. Think about it this way. For every one fish you have in the tank, there are 100,000 microscopic critters in that tank. Probably actually more, but that's a big number and an appropriate number to describe what's really going on in your fish tank. There is life from one end of the spectrum to the other. Most of it is invisible. Occasionally you get to see some of it because it's just barely at the level of visibility. If you have a microscope or a good hand lens and can look at that, it'll give you a deeper appreciation of the sheer volume of life living in your aquarium. Do not be dismayed or disheartened, my friends. It is a sign of your love for your aquarium that more creatures have taken up residence and are establishing home and hearth in your little glass box. Feel good about that. Do not be intimidated. Do not be afraid. Do not be dismayed, but rather take joy in the knowledge that you are providing home for an enormous variety of life.
Of life. Okay, so Hannah and Irina, which they're new, says, I got a few neon tetras today. Is it normal for them to try to swim into their reflection?
Swim into what?
Their reflection. So they're swimming, I guess, into the glass, their reflection. That's what I get out of that. Is that
they're not seeing a reflection. You may see a reflection looking in. They don't see a reflection looking out. That's not what's happening. They're not swimming into their reflection. They're swimming into the water, and there's a piece of glass blocking their movements. They're trying to swim through the water, and they hit this invisible barrier. Far from being a reflection, it is completely invisible. And so they bump into it and then have to figure out why in the world the water stopped. Water's not supposed to stop, but it did. Cold. So they'll get used to it. And they'll be fine. And after a day or so, they will simply avoid it. Mm-hmm. They may run up and down it like crazy. Some fish just go nuts. They become insane. They spend their day going up and down, up and down, up and down, up, endlessly, up and down, up and down. It's all they do. Up and down, up and
you just
down.
have to look away. Those are the ones I don't watch. And don't look
don't watch. Yeah. Don't pay any attention to the
pay attention to the man behind the curtain.
Yeah. You can do what you can, if you're really concerned about it, take them out and put them in a bucket. Okay, because all he's trying to do is get through the water. He thinks it's water. He doesn't know what glass is. It's water. Right. It's hard water. Think of it that way. It's hard water. Weird.
I'm just going to answer this quickly. Tetraman, we only got about 6 inches of snow, and then it turned to freezing rain, and it didn't end up being at all the storm they had predicted up here, which is great. And then you're getting your usual, some people asking you about shrimp, father fish. How do you keep shrimp?
I don't.
I was going to say you can answer that any way you want, but you really don't keep them.
I've got tanks with shrimp in them. I found the best way to keep shrimp is keep them in an old tank, a tank with a lot of age to it, a lot of mulm in it, a deep substrate, a lot of plants in it, and no fish of any kind at all. You put fish in there, they're going to eat them. If you do that, then they'll be able to multiply and you have more babies. I find that's the worst problem, is putting fish in with them. If you keep them by themselves, they do just fine. I don't chase water conditions with shrimp. So there are only certain kinds of shrimp I even make an effort to keep. And the one I do the best with is grass shrimp. which are the least attractive, least interesting, and hardiest of all of them. I do have Neocaridina, and usually they'll do just fine for me until some fish happens to get in the tank, and then all the babies disappear and the big ones gradually disappear.
Mm-hmm. So I have a question.
Let me finish that. Here's why they gradually disappear. Crustacean shed. They have an exoskeleton. They have an exoskeleton. Try to understand that. Their bones are on the outside. In order to grow, they have to shed those bones. They actually get big enough and fat enough that they crack their shell and they pull themselves out of that shell. And during a brief period of time, when they're out of the shell, they are very soft. And every other fish in the sea knows what that is and goes after them to eat them, because they are at that moment, and for a very short time frame, an hour or two, they are completely helpless and susceptible to being eaten, and they will be eaten because fish can smell it. They can smell it. They can see it. They know it's there, and they'll start taking bites out of them. They'll bite the thin fins, bite the eyes out. They'll kill it and then keep working at it until they've eaten it all up. That's why they hide. They hide under grass. They dig tunnels. They do anything they can when they're going to shed to get away from predation, because they're going to be eaten. So that's why you can't keep them with fish, because at some stage in their development, they will be food.
I have another question for you, but I was going to ask you, could we take a quick break?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Let's do that.
And then we'll come back and answer some more questions.
Do. All right.
Let's talk about fish, baby. Let's talk about you and me. Let's talk about all the good things and the bad things that may be. Let's talk about fish. Let's talk about fish. Fish. Let's talk about fish, baby. Let's talk about you and me. Let's talk about all the good things and the bad things that may be. Let's talk about fish. Let's talk about fish. Fish. Father fish, father fish. The one place to go to if you have Vic. Your fish may itch or even flash. So father fish is your one-stop cap. Capital with an inch of sand. Capital with an inch of sand. Raise the temperature with a helping hand. And add some garlic on top of that sand. The heat will go, your plants will grow, and all of your fish will have a happy home. Father fish, so father fish, your one-stop wonder if you keep fish. Starring Sir Father Fish and all his followers on the Father Fish channel. Over to you, Sir Father Fish.
All right, we're back. Hello, hello.
Hello. Oh, we say something.
Yeah, we're okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Testing,
Okay.
testing. You there?
Yeah. So you have a question from Von Jeton. Says Father Fish, can you discuss how to make a balanced saltwater tank, please?
Exactly the same way you do a freshwater tank. In point of fact, most of the impetus for balanced freshwater tanks came from the saltwater side. And it came specifically from one group of aquarists who determined the importance of a deep substrate based on research that was performed 20 years ago on the health of the substrate under the coral reef, in which they determined that the health of the substrate, the top 8 to 10 inches of the substrate, correlated directly to the health of the reef above it. And so they determined, based on that research, to pay attention to and to work at developing a healthy substrate. In an effort to do that, the first step was to realize that the substrate needed to have some depth to it. You know, 1 inch of crushed coral wasn't gonna really do anything. The first thing they had to do was come to grips with the fact that that substrate, that bottom under the coral reef, when you got down an inch or two in it, was anaerobic. Whoa, anaerobic. I thought that killed things. There was a whole mentality about anaerobics that had built up that it was something horrible, dangerous, and destructive. And what they discovered is that quite the opposite is true. Without anaerobics, it's impossible to have a healthy substrate and therefore a healthy coral reef, or for our purposes, a healthy aquarium. If you do not have an aerobic layer, you cannot grow plants, have a balanced environment, have a stable long-term aquarium that's going to be able to survive without constant intervention. So, I've lost track of the initial question.
Well, how to set up a saltwater tank, how to establish a saltwater tank.
Yeah, so same thing precisely.
Yeah.
You start with a layer of mud. And the very best way to do that is to get some mud from the sea, from a saltwater body. Barring that, you can buy it, and barring that, you can make it. Virtually any dirt will do, just as with freshwater. If you can, the benefit of being able to get mud from the ocean, from a saltwater body, is that you're bringing in a whole host of life forms that are going to establish very quickly and very easily the life in that system. But you can kind of start from scratch. You can start with some dirt, get it in there, cap it with sand, and I would do an additional 1-inch layer of sand. Do 3 inches of sand over an inch of dirt, and then add water and get some filters going. Now you cannot use sponge filters in a saltwater tank because it's messy. It creates bubbles. The bubbles burst. The water splashes. It may be very teeny tiny splashes, but it builds up. The water evaporates. It leaves a salt incrustation, which in time becomes a mess. So what you want to do instead of the sponge filter is a pump, a small water pump to circulate the water. Now you can attach that pump to the sponge filter, so it's pulling water through the sponge. The only issue with that is that it's going to become clogged up very, very quickly. Won't take long at all. I've never done it reverse. I've never done it where I push water through the sponge, but that might actually work better. Somebody might experiment with that. Maybe I will, given the option. But water flow is critical in salt water. You do not ever want to have still, not unmoving salt water. You want to have water flow, and you want to have two sources of water flow. So one little pump is not enough. You need two little pumps. And you want them crashing the water against each other, so you don't create a whirlpool. The problem with the whirlpool is it creates gaps. It creates dead zones where water is not flowing, like down in the corners. And that'll become literally a dead zone where stuff will die. In the ocean, we see it here in the Gulf, where there will be a dead zone, where everything will be CO2 and everything below it will die. That's basically what red tide is. Red tide creates a dead zone. It burns all the oxygen out of the water, and everything below it suffocates. You want to. It's critical to have moving water, and you want to have every cubic inch of that water moving, not just part of it. Part of it is not all of it. Part of it is part of it. You want to have all of it moving. The way to do that is with two pumps shooting water directly at each other. So it creates a turbulence that goes everywhere. And it works. So just do it that way. What else? That's about it. When you start populating it, you want to start bringing in as much microfauna as you possibly can. That's the basis for the system is microfauna. Don't worry about keeping it sterile and crystal clear with a few fish. If you can do that, you're going to fail and it's going to crash. You want to bring microfauna in it to give it life so it can balance itself and become stable. Yeah, go ahead.
So Hustar has just a basic question. Wants to know advice on keeping Oscars.
On what?
Advice on keeping Oscars.
Advice on keeping Oscars. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. I'm warning you. Don't do it. You'll be sorry. My brother has had one fish tank in his life. A little 10-gallon tank that he set up in his dining room in their little double wide before they moved into a mansion. And he went to the pet shop. He got the tank, got a light, got a filter, got some gravel, and he bought a fish. He bought one fish. Yep, you guessed it. He bought a little Oscar, cute little thing, put it in the tank. I visited his home periodically, and over a period of year watched as that Oscar grew. I think at its maximum, it was about 7 inches, living in a 10-gallon tank. His wife did not want a bigger tank. She said, the fish is fine. Well, of course it wasn't. And one day it jumped out. And that was the end of the fish and the tank and the whole experience of keeping fish. That's kind of the story of the Oscar. I've had Oscars very nearly 2 foot long. Very nearly. 18 to 20 inches. And they probably could get bigger. You can't keep them with anything else because they eat it or kill it.
Yeah.
Or they get killed by it. So you got to keep them by themselves. You can get 2. Chances are, at some point in time, the one's going to kill the other one. At some point in time, it's bound to happen. May take a while. They're think of having an Oscar as the same thing as having a puppy. It's the same considerations, the same level of involvement, the same level of care and interest and engagement. You've got a little animal there. It's aquatic, but it's an animal that's responsive to you and will build a relationship with you, like a puppy. Now, you can't take it out and play with it So it's not a puppy in that respect. It'll play catch, though. You can play games with it in the tank. If you're willing to treat it as a puppy and give it enough room to live in, a happy, healthy environment, and build that kind of relationship. So this is a pet that you're caring for and taking care of and enjoying. That's fine. Don't expect it to do well if you're not willing to provide that level of care and interest. And that's all I got to say about.
Okay. So since you've gone with that, now they're asking an alternative to an Oscar with similar personality.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay. Good.
A betta. A betta.
True. True. Much smaller, but true.
Easier to care for. Will provide the same kind of interaction virtually. They'll come see you when you come in the room.
Mm-hmm.
They will have moods and a personality. They're easier to maintain. So something smaller, easier to handle, more appropriate perhaps. Oh, a little old lady, a little old genteel lady can enjoy a betta. She might not enjoy a 12-inch Oscar.
Oscar. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next
So,
question.
well, it's a little bit of a size difference, but you don't need a huge tank.
Right.
You didn't already have a large tank. And I'm not really seeing another question right after that. There's a lot of talk and a lot of. Oh, wait a minute. Okay. So, bottom dwellers. Anything I need to look out for with a tiger shovel nose red tail hybrid? Like, do they have any issues? Are they just a result of hybridization? That's at 1026 if you want to read it yourself.
Oh, 1026. All right, I'm way back here. Oh, what's
Bottom.
that?
Sorry, anything they need to look out for with the tiger shovel nose red tail hybrid? Gonna need a big tank.
Yeah, there is that.
Eventually.
You want 2 fat ones in the middle tank to go in with the Africans? The fat sick wood cutter.
Oh, yeah, that's okay.
There's already some in there.
Yeah, yeah. Tiger Show is rental hybrid. Do they have any issues? Well, they may not, but you will.
Yeah.
If you want a fish that has the potential to grow 6 foot long,
Yeah.
and will almost certainly grow to 2 foot in whatever you put them in. That would be the main issue.
Housing them long term. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Feeding them,
Yeah.
caring for them, keeping them, not killing them.
Right.
You know, it's a whole other thing growing big fish. The Monster Fish Brigade.
That's right. Well, that's what Monster Fish Gal and her husband do. They keep monster fish, but it's not for everyone. And as you said, you have to be prepared for it. So T-Bone has a question. He says, Father Fish, would you pay $795 for a freshwater blue spot mono stingray?
No, but then I would look to get it wholesale.
Well,
And that's,
exactly.
that sounds overpriced anyway. Wholesale, they run 100 to 150. So if a shop is charging that, they're really profiteering on it. The most I would ask would be 3 to 400,
Yeah.
depending on condition and quality. Anything beyond that is just sheer profiteering. They don't need to charge that much unless
Yeah.
there's some good reason. There it may be something that it may be a pregnant female, which would make it more valuable. Maybe something that has been tanked, or maybe tank bred and tank raised rather than wild caught. I mean, there could be some specific reason for that specific fish to have greater value. You might look into that, but generically, the fish is worth $300 to $400.
Yeah.
Wild caught specimen brought in to the country, that's what they would go for.
Yeah. And I want to touch on something about the wholesale thing, but AVP Productions is asking me a question. It says, how many tanks do I have, and what is the most fish you've ever had, and what do you like the best? Well, right now, out of all my fish, I'm really enjoying my goldfish. I'm breeding my goldfish. I currently, I have 50 plus tanks. I've had, I don't even count my fish. I had a store years ago, so I don't know. I probably had more fish when I had my store than I have right now. But hundreds, thousands of fish at a time, depending, upon what I'm doing. So, it just depends on what I'm breeding, what I'm up to. But something you were touching on the wholesale side, and this has run through my head a few times, because when people come in and they set up a new tank, and you always recommend, almost always, you need more plants. But you buy wholesale, and buying plants for you is not the same as being on the retail side of buying plants. So when people go in and they've got a pretty good sized tank and they buy 7 or 8 plants, that's going to cost them a lot of money. So it's hard for people sometimes to afford to fill their tank with plants. So, and like I said, because you buy wholesale, and I get it, you look at it differently. But for someone who's struggling to fill it up, and they want to buy maybe a couple specialty plants, what would you suggest after that they could do that would be on a less expensive side, so that they could get the plant,
Couple of things.
in there that they need to do? Yeah.
Yeah, a couple of things. Number one, a minimum of 30%. And I think at the beginning, 50% of your plants should be cheap, fast growing plants. And you might even just start with that. Start with as much as you can afford, cheap, fast growing plants. Don't put the fancy, expensive plants in right away. Give that time, give that a year at least for that tank to become stable enough and sturdy enough to be able to handle it, and for you to be experienced enough to know how to plant and how to care for that plant. So start with cheaper plants. That's number one. Number two, you can almost invariably, you can go out into nature and collect plants for your fish tank from bodies of water in your area. If you're worried about bringing something in that's dangerous, put them in something first and give them a week or two to rinse them off a little. But wild plants are precisely what you're buying from the store anyway. I mean, it used to be not too many years ago, right here in Florida, that the plant farms would send out their staff into into the ditches and streams and culverts and ponds and lakes all over Florida to collect plants to bring them in and package them and sell them. That's where virtually all the plants came from. It's only been in recent years that there have been people actually farming them. And they are farming them. They're growing them out in ponds out in the open in nature where everything can come in and say hello and take up residence. I mean, plants are the plants you buy in the store are not grown out in the laboratory. They're grown out in ponds in the wild, in nature. All of them, unless they're collected. And they're really, I don't think there's anybody doing that anymore. It's too easy not to. It's too easy to get plants going in a pond and let them take it over and just go out and cut and clip and bunch. Buy cheap plants, collect them yourself, rinse them off, stick them in your tank, get them going, learn how to grow plants first. Then you can get into spending more money on better quality plants. But start with the easy ones and the cheap ones and load your tank up with them. Don't put 1 or 2 sprigs in. Put 100 sprigs in. Put a lot in. Fill 70% of that tank up with plants. Put a lot of plants in, not a little bit. And a lot doesn't mean, 1 in every corner and 1 in the middle. A lot means chock-a-block. A lot means 50% of the tank or more is full of plants. Do it that way, and you'll develop a tank that'll be healthy and successful very quickly.
Okay. Well, I just thought about that, a way for them to find an alternative to buying it at the pet store, So,
yeah, you can collect wild. And everybody who has a fish tank ought to get used to walking as they're out in nature, finding things they like in a body of water and bringing it home and putting it in their tank. Get used to doing it. It is 90% of the joy of having an aquarium. And it provides a richer, more diverse environment that will be healthier and more stable.
Very good. I have a question, but Rohan says he finally has microworms. Yay! I told you, just wait. So Hannah Robinson at 1031, and also if you could find them, they're a member, but they don't have a wrench. So it might be nice to give them a wrench.
Yeah, let me.
Okay, and then there's a question to go along with it. You want me to read it, or you want to read it?
Hold on a minute.
Okay. Oh, and TJ Newley said $750 Australian is about 450 American. So I guess not far off the price you were talking about.
That's not too bad. Yeah. Hold on a minute. Okay. That's not too bad.
Yeah.
Let's see. 1031 was it?
Yeah, Hannah Robinson and is a member but doesn't have a wrench. Just noticing that.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay.
And we haven't passed out any wrenches for a few days, so we don't need to do it today, but maybe tomorrow we'll pass out some wrenches.
Thank you, Hannah. Hannah is now blue and green. I guess she's still green as a member.
Yeah.
Okay, so question.
Yeah.
Yeah, got it. No, what was the question? I did a big water change. Want to turn the sterilizer off. Turn the sterilizer off. The sterilizer is probably what's killing your fish. Because it probably, here's the thing about a UV. UV is a death ray. It's a death ray gun. You run water past that death ray, and whatever's living in the water dies. Virtually instantly kills it. So what it's producing is a steady stream of dead material, of dead organisms. Steady stream of dead organisms. Now, what do you suppose the effect of that is going to be on the tank? A steady supply of dead organisms coming into the water. Just turn it off and leave it off, and you'll have a healthier tank.
Yeah, and I suppose there is a chance that there may be a few more deaths in the interim, but it will come back around and you'll get that healthy tank eventually. And the fish will be better for it. All right. Just a note, northern cold water areas. Oh, James Handy is saying, just a note, northern cold water areas, wild plants will likely die after a while. They're established a cold water hibernation stage. It's happened to me. Yeah, that makes total sense. Yep.
Yeah, and frankly, they're probably not going to die back in warm water. They will continue to grow. That what you may find is that the leaves will die off simply because they get old and they deteriorate. But there should always be new leaves coming up. And it may sort of semi-hibernate for a while, but it'll grow and it'll do fine. You really won't see the kind of it's not like a tree. You know, there are certain trees that have to go dormant. The plants don't have to go dormant. Generally speaking, some of the bulb plants seem to want to, but frankly, the reality is after 2 or 3 years, they're growing new leaves and they're continuing on. It's their ability to survive drought is simply a safety switch, not something that they're required to do in order to survive.
Okay. Jeannie Campbell's asking if she should maybe call you in regards to an email she sent you yesterday. Should she call the store?
I'll bet well, let me look at the email.
Okay. Hey, I've emailed him before. He doesn't always see it right away.
Who was it?
Jeannie Campbell.
Is this about an order?
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm sure it is.
Maybe. Yeah.
I did send a message about that, and it's Thomas has been sick, so we've not been able to get. Here it is. Oh, like to order. Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. I just got your message. Yeah, I'll send you a response to that, and we'll get that out.
Yeah, she said.
We'll get that out to you. I don't know if I can do it today. I will if I can. Otherwise, it'll be Monday. Jean. Thank you, Jean. I'll keep that at the top and get to it right away.
Rohan says his Java fern has been dormant for 2 years.
Java fern has been dormant for 2 years.
2 years.
That's curious.
Yeah.
There may simply not be enough nutrition in the water for it to sprout, to grow. I'm assuming it's not dead. I don't know what you mean by Java fern being dormant. That would to me mean the tuber has no leaves on it.
Right.
but it could very well be dead.
I'm surprised you kept it that long. If I had something that didn't do anything for 2 years, I probably myself would have chucked it by now. So good for you.
Yeah,
For hanging
my
in there.
hunch is there either is no nutrients in your water or it's dead.
Right. Good morning, Susan. So that's really come to, I think, pretty much the end of the questions, Father Fish. Unless, I mean, if you wait, there'll obviously be more that come in, but it's up to you.
Okay, well, it's
Yeah,
fine.
he says it's not growing new leaves. Huh. So it must have some leaves. It just hasn't grown. Okay. I'm assuming it has some leaves, but it hasn't grown new leaves.
Yeah, it probably inadequate nutrition in the water column. You might do something about that.
He says it's expensive, so he's not throwing it out. I get it.
Alrighty, we're down to it, I guess. We've got 76 likes.
I think
90 people watching right now.
Yeah, if
The
everyone has
all.
thumbs up if you can.
Everybody happy?
Well, I mean, probably as long as you wanted to sit here and answer questions, there would be questions, but
Sure. Well,
at some point.
Today is Thursday. We'll be here tomorrow. Look for you all tomorrow. Make sure you come over to Discord. There is an ongoing conversation, and it's a lot of fun. I'll show you what it looks like. Where'd it go? There's what it looks like. A recent entry, Cloud and Deep Sea. Just became Snook and now is able to post pictures. Excuse me. So come on over, have fun. You'll enjoy it. And we will see you all in the morning.
Yeah.
On screen. And Red Rosie's too. I lost the words. Don't know what to do. But I sing to my friend. What a wonderful show. The colors of the rainbow, as pretty as can be, are also on the guppies. And that's for you and me. I see friends coming in, saying, let's talk about fish. They're really saying, I love you. I hear water splashing. Oh my God. With Father Fish I learned there's so much more to know. And I sing to my friends. What a wonderful show. Oh yeah. I'll sing to my friend. What a wonderful show. Bye all. Love you. See you in the morning.